Good day and welcome back, students. Today we will discuss input circuits. The use of input circuit is to halt or pause the normal operation of a process to wait for a user response or action. So in the Arduino hardware, it uses switches as mode of manual user action and sensors as automatic switches. As you can see, these circuits here, these images here are actually reflects on what you will be able to use in our Tinkercad. Your push buttons, your potentiometer, your side switch, your photoresistor, photodiode, and light sensor. Now, as you can see, it says here that switches are mode of manual user action. It means that the user will have to manually push or give an action to our switches, just like pushing our push buttons or sliding or manually operating the slide switch in order for it to switch from one state to another state. Likewise with the potentiometer. However, for sensors such as our photoresistor, photodiode, light sensors, and other sensors that can be seen in our Tinkercad, you will have a more automatic operation for being as a switch. Push button as an input. There are actually two types of push button, the normally open and normally closed. Wherein normally open is turned off initially, or most often than not is actually the same as the normal switch, wherein most of our switches are turned off initially, or automatically it is off, unless if you switch it on, then it will turn on. The next one is the NC or normally closed, which is turned on initially. And the Tinkercad only uses the normally open for push button. This one is normally open. And normally open, normally closed. As you can see here, you can actually identify that this portion here and this portion here are not actually connected. Therefore, you can actually say that the circuit is off. And in here, this panel and this panel is actually connected. Therefore, it is connected and it is now turned on. For our Tinkercad, you will be able to see that this point here is called your terminal, let's just say T1 for terminal 1A, and this is terminal 1B. This is for terminal 2A, and this is terminal 2B. Now, the concept of this one is terminal 1, whether 1A and 1B is actually connected, and terminal 2 is actually connected. When will it turn on? Like I said in here, the Tinkercad only uses normally open. It's like this, normally open. And this one is T1 and this is T2. Once you push this button here or this black part here, this 1A and 2A will be connected. Unlike for this 1B and this 1A, they're actually shorted. Whether you push this or not, 1A and 1B are still connected to one another. Just like this circuit here, indicating a normally open push button. If you look into the video, if I play this, when it is being pushed, it is only then that the LED will light. On the other hand, we have the normally closed or initially turned on. As you can see, the LED is already lighting. But if it is pushed, then it will turn off. Now, what is now the difference between these two types of push button? We will be learning the concept of this one later on. However, like I said, the Tinkercad only makes use of the normally open type push button. Using push buttons in Arduino uses primarily normally open push buttons. There are actually two types of circuit configuration. First one is the normally low switch or high trigger switch. It is commonly used by hobbyists because it is easier to understand and is because this is the normal switch that normal switch configuration. The next one is the normally high switch or low triggered switch. It is used primarily in digital switches. Most of our digital circuits makes use of normally high switch or low triggered. The normally low switch is initially turned off. The pin is connected to ground, and when pushed, VCC or the VCC is normally 5 volts is applied to the pin, thus called high triggered. This is the operation and the circuit of the normally low switch. As you can see here, this is a voltmeter which indicates that if this is not pushed, you have a zero value here because the pin is connected to ground. This pin here is directly connected to the ground, which is, as you can see, it is connected through a 10K resistor, which is directly connected to the ground. When you push this push button here, the 5 volts or the VCC is connected to the pin directly. Okay, that's the concept of that. Now, if we look into the video, as you can see, if it is being pushed, a 5 volts is applied to our pin. That is the operation for normally low switch. Now, for the normally high switch, it is initially turned on because the pin is connected to VCC or the 5 volts. When pushed, ground is connected to the pin, thus low triggered. Looking at our image here, it is the pin is directly connected to our 5 volts or your VCC. It's because it is now connected to our 5 volts through our 10K ohm resistor. And it is not connected to our ground because it is not pushed. But when we push this one, this voltmeter here will read 0 volt because the pin now is directly connected to our ground. Let's play the video so that you will understand much better. So as you can see here, if it is being pushed, there is 0 volt. Now, why does our pin goes to 0 volt when it is being pushed? As you can see here, our pin is directly connected to our VCC. But when pushed, our pin is shorted directly to the ground. Thus, we all know that if a short is seen, our current runs through the lowest resistance possible. In here, it can see a 10K. In here, it can see 0 ohm. Therefore, our current will run through our 0 ohm, so our lower resistance. Therefore, our pin is now connected to our ground. Thus, we get a 0 volt here. So switch as an input. So the operation of switch is actually the same as the normally open push button. Once switch, it stays in its triggered state unless it is returned back. If you look at this, when you switch this, when this switch touches this panel here, it will automatically turn on. And that's it. It will not go back unless you will switch it back to its off state. Just like this one here, if you slide this going here, it stays there. It stays there. It will only turn off again if you slide it back to its other position. It can either be single pole, single throw, single pole, double throw, double pole, single throw, or double pole, double throw. Literally, this is SP, ST, and if I'm not mistaken, this is double pole, single throw. This can be seen in our Tinker CAD. So let's have a recap on what we have learned. First is we have learned push button circuits, and the configurations, the normally low and the non-normally high. And then you have your switch as an input for your Arduino. So students, that's for today. If you have questions, comments, list them down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I hope you have learned something today. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next video. Bye bye.